Hello and welcome to Motorcycle News and welcome to another bike in our 2024 long-term test video series. Now today it's Ben Clark's Triumph Scrambler 400X, is that right?
That's the very one.
Well, thanks very much for bringing your bike along.
You're more than welcome.
And for showing us around. So you've brought us 10 good points and 10 not so good points about this bike.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, you've had this for a little while now.
Yeah.
So when did you pick this up and what have you been up to with it?
So it's, as we speak now, at the very end of November. I've had it for about 7 months. I've done just over 3,500 miles, done a bit of off-roading, mostly on-road, quite a lot of commuting.
Yeah.
And then I also went and borrowed a slightly different version of it at a place called Rally Raid.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I've also ridden the Speed 400 version of it. I just swapped just to see if I liked the other flavour as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And these have been like massively popular.
Hugely popular, yeah. Very, very successful. Lots of interest in it. I've had lots of questions about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been really successful, I think, for Triumph.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like that sweet spot in the market at the moment where, well, you see it in sales figures. You know, the bikes in and around this are struggling, but the sort of 126cc to 500cc segment of the market in the UK is in the green and is doing really well at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we traditionally thought of as a kind of second bike market,
Yeah.
perhaps for off-roaders that are more experienced
Yeah.
every year on their happy experience birthday, they are swapping to this because it's got a nice low seat for this kind of bike.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lightweight. It's simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's led the high sales on it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know you've had a lot of fun on this, and we'll come on to it. But you don't normally go for bikes with small little single-cylinder engines. So, what are the other sort of bikes that you've recently run for MCN?
So no, this was a bit of a step down because last year I ran an M1000R.
Quite the change.
Yeah, so I lost an MT10's worth of power between the two bikes, to put it in context.
Yeah.
Before that, I've run a ZX10 before on the fleet as well.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun in a different way.
Yeah.
I had an Indian 1200. So yeah, the 400 was quite a step down in terms of power.
Yeah.
Which I do talk about in my list of pros and cons, but so I won't spoil it.
No, not at all. I mean, step down in capacity, but not in terms of sort of presence. I mean, I know it's a small bike, but it's it still feels like a lot of bike.
It's like a big bike, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fit and finish is really nice. The details, I love that they've kept that sort of Triumph headlight bracket, so it looks like the rest of the family.
Yeah.
I actually called in the 1200 Scrambler and the Street Scrambler to do a sort of comparison and see how this felt in terms of the family, and it does just about fit in. You can tell as you hop off between the bikes that this is part of that same family, even though the price point is so much lower.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, should we jump into the good and bads? I reckon we start with the goods.
Okay.
And then we hold the bads back, because then we can keep people engaged for longer, I reckon. So in no particular order. Okay. We'll go for your first point, which you say is engine sound.
Yeah. So we'll cut in some footage of the engine running, and so that the people at home can hear it. But it's really fruity.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
Just completely standard stock exhaust.
Yeah. And
it does just sound really, really good. The Speed 400 actually sounds even better.
Oh, right.
That's got a single end can instead of the split into two.
Yeah.
And it not so much when you're static in a car park, but at speed, this gets a little bit nasal once you're up to sort of 60, 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas the Speed's got a little bit more sort of bass to it. But even so, I think this sounds absolutely brilliant. I mean, the first time I rode it into the car park when you were here, you turned around because you thought it was a motocross bike.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember you saying. So, yeah, it's got a really great kind of throaty, British, kind of nostalgic engine tone.
It's a proper little sound. I remember you gave me a lift to... I can't remember where we were going, but I ended up jumping on the back, and obviously the exhaust exits where it exits right near my right ear, and it sounds flipping brilliant.
Yeah,
really good, nice little bark to it.
Yeah,
sweet. All right, and from that you've got lightweight.
Yeah, so I've been used to 200 kilo plus.
Yes.
I think the last off-road bike I had for MCN was a T7,
yeah,
and that's about 205, I think, if memory serves.
Right. Okay.
So this does feel a hell of a lot lighter. I have to do a little wiggle to get it through the gate at home.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm used to having to really brace myself and kind of wrench these heavy bikes through. This, you just hold onto the pillion grab rail and sort of feed it through, and it's
From the back?
yeah, you don't.
Wow.
It's so light. I have dropped this off-road and just picked it up on my own. Again, you sort of, if you've picked up off-road bikes before, you're used to the technique, but you brace yourself for the weight. And this, I just basically grabbed the handlebars and picked it up like a push bike.
Wow.
It's obviously still a motorbike, but it's noticeably lighter than a lot of the things I've been riding recently, which is just refreshing. It's nice.
Yeah. And it's good as well, you know, to know that if you do get into trouble, that you're not going to be stranded or stuck, or, you know, you can look after yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You can pick it up on your own.
Which can be, you know, the downfall of a lot of big adventure bikes for people. They don't want to take them off-road because you're not picking up 300 kilos on your own.
Well, exactly. And, you know, if you get the technique right, a small person can pick up a GS.
Yeah.
But what if it falls awkwardly on a trail and there's a rock in the way of where you're supposed to be standing? And you know, whereas you can sort of get away, fudge it a little bit on this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we've already touched on it a little bit, but next point is the looks.
The looks. Look at it.
It's very cool.
Kind of speaks for itself. Video is a visual medium, but it is superb looking. Like the paint finish looks great in that kind of matte army green colour. I love the detail of having the stitching on the bar pad.
Yeah.
Already touched on the headlight bracket and you know, the mudguard. I think it looks really grown up. And it's a small bike, it's not a beginner bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can tell when you look at it.
And doubly important, impressive for the looks is how much it costs.
Yes.
It's what, sub $5,000 or just over?
It's over. The speed is cheaper.
Right, okay. But it's still an awful lot of bike for not a lot of money, hence why they've been so popular this year. I mean, I particularly like, you know, you got like the little details on the engine, and you got this sort of number board type affair down by the seat, and obviously the nice stitching on the seat and everything. You know, it's a bike. It's sort of throwaway bike money to some people. Yeah. But it's a bike that you open the garage and you're proud of.
And I think if you took all the Triumph badges off it, you'd look at it and think that's a Triumph.
Yeah.
They've captured the essence of Triumph in it.
Yes.
Somehow.
Absolutely.
Without sounding too much like an advert for Triumph, but it, you know, genuinely, it's what I believe. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Done a good job.
Brilliant. So, after that, you have put the OE tyres on the road.
Yes. So it comes on Metzler Karoo streets.
Yeah, so quality tyres then.
Quality tyres. And they are sort of faux off-road tyres, I would say.
Yeah.
So they've got a chunky look to them, but they've got street in the name. They are street tyres, really. But one of the things that really surprised me about the bike is how well it handled, and I think a lot of that is down to those tyres on the road.
Yeah.
Not great off-road. Handle a bit of gravel, that's about it. But yeah, and to have those sort of brand name tyres, especially on a bike like this that's going to have such huge sales in India and abroad, you kind of think maybe they'd have scrimped on the tyres, thinking Europe will just put new tyres on anyway. But they didn't. They went for the Metzlers. So good tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've not got the standard tyres on anymore.
No,
you've got something a bit more substantial.
Yeah, because I was going off the road, I swapped over to TKC 80s.
Yes.
Which are 50/50s. Tyres that I know well from previous bikes.
Yeah.
And they've been really good.
Yeah.
Really great.
Really enhanced the look as well, actually. They look like
they look cool.
Looks like an action man right now.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about handling there. Is there any way, have we got any adjustment at all to enhance the handling or alter it at all?
Yeah, the rear shock is adjustable for preload, but that's it.
Okay, of course. No adjustment on the front. So, handling is the next point. I guess kind of coincides with what we've just said.
Coincides with that, but the quality of the suspension, it's only got short travel for a sort of off-roady looking bike, 150 millimeters front and rear.
Yeah.
But on the road in particular, the handling is very, very good.
Yeah.
You can put a foot peg down, which I wasn't expecting because it's got quite high foot pegs.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, round and round roundabouts and stuff like that, it handles exceptionally well.
Nice.
The back's a little bit soft.
Yeah.
I turn the preload up because I'm quite heavy for the bike, but even so, it's still a bit squidgy, sort of bouncy bit. But it doesn't. It's well damped. You don't sort of bounce down the road or get seasick in traffic or anything like that. It's
absolutely. But as you now know, there are aftermarket kits.
There are aftermarket kits that can improve that a great deal.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap, but the upgrades from Rally Raid were a whole nother step up again in terms of plushness and control through the stroke and everything. Really, really good.
Fantastic. So from there, you talk about the off-road ability.
Yes. So I didn't think it was really an off-road bike.
Yeah.
Triumph's blurb say that you can do light off-road, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely not to do obstacles or jumps.
Oh, gutted.
Yeah. And I thought it was kind of just a street bike dressed up as an off-roader.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can off-road these things, especially with if you do get the upgrades that Rally Raid have made. You can take it a bit further.
Yeah. So what are those upgrades? Just as a quick overview.
Adjustable suspension. It keeps the same travel, but the quality is better.
Yep, yep.
So it's new internals. And they have a different brand of tyre. I've done a similar job with TKC 80s. They're like 50/50 tyres.
Yeah.
And then they do Renthal fat bars as well. So there's a new clamp for those with risers. Just gives you a little bit more room on the bike and makes them a bit stronger for if you do have a tumble.
Nice.
But I'm getting on for 6 foot and I've got room on the standard setup.
Oh, right, okay, fine. Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be any smaller.
No.
But as we touched on it, it's got sort of big bike dimensions,
Yeah.
even though it is a small bike. So
Yeah, absolutely, and that single gives it a nice, easy standover. You know, I'm obviously not nearly 6 foot. I'm 5'6", and it's a doddle. It's a piece of cake for me too. So we'll move on from there to the price. We kind of already talked about it, but it's a lot of bike for the money, isn't it?
It is an awful lot of bike for the money. So November 2024, it's 5,795, so still under $6,000.
Yeah.
That has gone up since the bike was launched, where it was just over $5,000.
Yeah,
so
it was really cheap at the start.
It has gone up a few £100, which you tend to see after a bike's been launched for a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so much bike for the money.
Yeah.
I know we get a lot of comments online about bikes that are priced in the real world and for real people and stuff. And sub $6,000 in 2024 for any motorcycle.
For anything.
For anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really good, really great value, and especially because it is such a substantial thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really refreshing to, like you say, you know, have a bike like this that's so affordable. You know, we see a lot of bikes come through the doors here, don't we? And you know, some of them, when you're speccing them up, you know, Justin's long-termer, which you can also see on this channel, you're getting on for £25,000 for the Harley Davidson Pan America. So you know, something like this, you could have
£20,000 cheaper.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't look £20,000 cheaper.
No.
So really, really impressive. And from that, then the power, because is this A2 license without restrictor?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's about 30 horsepower.
Okay.
And I say that because Triumph's claimed for it is slightly higher than we got out of it on the dyno.
Right, okay.
But other people have questioned that. I think they have been dynoed at different power figures.
I'm with you,
I mean, obviously all bikes are different and all
Yeah.
engines are different. But it's about 30 horsepower,
Yeah.
so you haven't got to really worry about A2 license restrictions coming into it.
No, it must be quite nice after the M1000R.
Yeah, it's nice to just be able to open the throttle and not think about it.
Yeah. No worry about dash cams or Gatsos or anything like that.
And so the reason I've put this into the positives rather than the negatives is because I was surprised. I think because of the weight of it, that power doesn't feel lacking.
I'm with you, yeah.
The power's all quite low down as well because it's a single, so you get that torque straight off the line. It's geared quite nicely for acceleration. The only time it really becomes a pain is like my long commute along the A47 and stuff.
Yeah.
That has started to wear thin.
Yes.
I'm bored of that now.
Right, I'm with you.
In the summer it's fine because you can just dive off onto a B road and wind your way
exactly.
home. But long slogs on A roads, motorways, stuff like that, it's not what it's built for.
No.
It'll do it. You can cruise at 70, absolutely no problem. But yeah, you don't get the impression the bike's enjoying it.
I'm with you,
and then you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then from there then, the simplicity.
Yeah, so it's kind of a breath of fresh air, isn't it? It's like the olden days. It has got traction control and ABS, which you can switch off for off-road, which again, I think is a really good feature.
Have you been able to activate the traction control with 30 horsepower?
I have a couple of times because of having the knobbly tyres and it being so cold when you first get onto my road in the morning. It's a bit slippery at the moment.
Yeah.
And you can get the rear to let go.
Wow. I didn't realise you were such a hero.
Oh, you've got no idea. But I think, you know, that aside, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
It's got a speedo needle that goes up and down.
Yeah, imagine that, an analog speedo.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It has got a tacho, but you don't really use it because
Yeah.
it's a single, so you just short shift your way through the gearbox. But yeah, what you see is what you get. It's just simple, and I like that. It's, especially coming from an M1000R, covered in aero, electronic everything, lean sensitive everything, and you just, you feel like you're either not doing it justice or being nannied by it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Whereas this, it's like, just jump on and go. Because it's a single as well. I like the single thing because it's like you can hear what the engine's doing. Like you can deduce mechanically how an engine works by listening to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Simple.
All right, brilliant.
Simple.
Brilliant. And, you know, I might be overstepping the bad points here, but is there any sort of technology that you'd like to see on it? You know, there's no heated grips or cruise control or anything like that.
I mean, cruise control would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm a pampered journalist, perhaps, but I've kind of got used to cruise control. Yeah. Especially in speed restricted areas.
Yeah, exactly.
And average speed cameras and stuff like that. I just find cruise control really handy.
Yeah.
I run heated gloves, which I've plumbed into the bike, and that hasn't caused any problems. So, yeah, heated grips I'm not really bothered about or
Fair
missing.
enough. Yeah. Okay. Well, last point then for good is the character of the bike.
Yeah, which I've kind of touched on already, but it's that, and I hate it. It's like buzz marketing rubbish, but it has got character.
Yes.
You can't,
yeah.
I think if you put yourself through a sort of stressful situation with any motorcycle or car really, or anything for that matter, you kind of bond with it. There's a camaraderie you get from going through stuff. And I think because this, even just doing the commute feels sort of like an adventure because it's a small bike and you're facing the elements together and stuff. You do bond with it, but it has got a real nice little kind of character. It's like a little plucky kind of cheeky chappy. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of feeds into that retro British. Wherever it's built, it's still got that British flair and that Triumph flair to it. And it's just a characterful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Bajaj. The tie-up with this, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And but no, I can see from your smile, it's got under your skin.
I'll be sad to see it go. I really will.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on to the slightly not so good points?
Yeah,
then,
and I won't be sad
in that
anymore.
case. Yeah, right. Let me turn over my piece of paper. All the mod cons in this video.
Cons, yeah.
Okay then, so bad points. You start with the headlight.
The headlight is awful.
Okay.
It's woeful.
Say what you really mean.
Yeah. You cannot see anything. This morning on the way in, someone on the other side of a dual carriageway put their main beams on, and I had to throttle off and pull over left because I literally could not see a thing.
Wow.
I was just completely blind. There's no power in the headlight at all. Even if I put my main beam on.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, it's often filthy, admittedly, because it's got that stupid...
Yeah. Well, I was going to bring this up with you because obviously I very kindly gave your bike a clean before this because you brought it to the office dirty, and I couldn't get behind this grille to give it a wipe. So is that's stuck on, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So without a screwdriver, you can't get that off.
Brilliant.
So to wash it, you have to kind of have a really soaking wet sponge and just sort of keep hitting it until
Yeah.
So it's no, like you can't stop at a petrol station and easily clean the headlight.
No.
So it is often dirty, which won't help with the performance. But even when it's clean, to be fair, it's not particularly powerful light at all. If you do a lot of winter riding and stuff, I'd be thinking about maybe some little auxiliary spotlights or something just to try and boost it because, it's really not good.
Right, I'm with you. Well, from there then, OE tyres off-road.
Yeah, so we talked about how good they are on road.
Yeah.
Off-road, you find their limits quite quickly.
Okay.
They're sort of gravel driveway tyres.
Yeah.
But as I said before, they have got street in the name, so the clear is kind of there. If you are buying one of these, thinking about going green laning and stuff, in the summer on gravel tracks, you'll get away with those Metzlers, but you'll need to swap to something more off-road biased if you're going to tackle mud or even like sort of damp grass or whatever.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
They do find their limit quite quickly.
Okay, and did you find the limit?
I found the limit very quickly,
dear.
I have had a couple of tumbles off this. Which actually I should have mentioned on the goods. It does take a crash pretty well.
Oh, good.
You can't tell.
No, you can't. You really can't. I know you. I set you up for that. You told me just before the video, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, everything's still intact. There's no bent pegs or anything like that. You've still got the ends of your levers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
although that's more luck than judgment, which we'll move on to when.
Okay. Right then. So brakes.
Brakes. It's just a bit underpowered. I know it's not a very heavy bike. You've only got that small single disc at the front.
Yeah.
As I've got used to riding this, I just by instinct now go for both brakes simultaneously to get that extra bit of biting power at the start. I don't think there's quite enough braking power.
No.
I'm a heavy rider, I guess that makes a difference, but even so, I'd be more comfortable, I think, with a slightly beefier front brake, just to pull it up a bit sharper if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean the radial mounted look, that still looks quite cool, but I feel your pain. I mean, I've got a Royal Enfield 350, as you know, and I always end up braking with the back first and then kind of bringing the front in because there's just not really that much going on. Yeah,
I mean, these are generally riding around. It's just if you say you try and nip ahead of a few extra cars at a roundabout. And then you get on the brakes late and then you sort of think, ooh, I'm not really quite pulling up here. That's the sort of scenario, but just a little bit more would be good.
Right, I see. And from there then the dash. So talked about how good it was being simple, but what's wrong with it?
It's really bright.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't help again with seeing.
Okay, yeah.
Especially if you've got a slightly dirty visor because the roads are gritted at the moment and there's a lot of lorries around. The LED backing on the dash is really, really bright. So you've got a poor headlight and then a really strong white light in your face.
Is it light sensitive or anything like that?
No.
Or just, right, okay.
It just is what it is. I think if you switch to the day running lights, it does change, but obviously you can't do that at night.
No.
You need to be on headlights. But it's just too bright. And it's so not necessarily the dash, but also the controls for going through the dash.
Yeah.
So you've got this single button operation to go through if you want to go and switch off the ABS and stuff like that. It's just a bit. I mean, I suppose it's what you'd expect for a bike at this price point.
The price point, yeah.
I'm again being a pampered journalist, but it's not particularly great. But I do, like you say, I do like the analog speedo. And
but I could see how the brightness would be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there then, the immobiliser light.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that then?
So I've ridden 3 different Scrambler 400s.
Okay.
Just because of borrowing different bikes to try things.
Yeah.
And a Speed 400, and I know other journalists here that have ridden other Speed 400s, and they've all got this thing where sometimes the immobiliser light stays on.
Right, okay.
But the bike runs.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect anything. The immobiliser light just stays on. You can usually kill it by switching the ignition back off and on again, but it doesn't fill me with hope that the immobiliser is working generally.
Yeah.
The fact that the light can stay on and you'll be riding the thing around. And this has in fact cut out on me before and then completely refused to start.
Oh.
And then I switched it off for a couple of seconds, switched it back on, and then away we went. And it's literally only done that once.
Right.
But I wonder whether that's some kind of gremlin link to the immobiliser.
Right, okay.
But the fact that all of these different test bikes that we've tried have had the same thing makes me think there's something going on there.
Yeah.
But like I say, it hasn't actually affected the running of the bike. So
it's just something you learn to live with.
Yeah, but a bit strange.
Yeah.
Not reassuring.
And also not very reassuring, you put coolant leaks.
Now, it's not a coolant leak.
Right.
That's unfair. What happens is there's a breather pipe that comes down. I can show you actually. There's a breather pipe that comes down here.
Okay.
And it gets stuck like it has now against the exhaust downpipe.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
It then gets really, really, really hot.
Yeah.
Makes the coolant expand, which then all fires out of that breather pipe.
Oh.
When the bike cools down, you've not actually lost very much, so the coolant level is still fine.
Yeah.
But I've parked up before and then come out and gone, uh-oh, something bad's happening, there's coolant everywhere, and then realised it's just because that breather pipe is heating up in the exhaust downpipe again. And it's like you can see it's in there now again.
Yeah.
However many times I feed it back where it's meant to be, it just ends up somehow wedged in there.
So where's that going then? Is that going onto the back tyre or?
Well, it would be, it's going straight down on the road beneath the bike.
Wow. Yeah, but I suppose if it's only a couple of drips, then it's not so
it's a couple of drips, and then when you stop, obviously it looks like a bigger puddle.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's a tiny thing, but it's annoying.
It gave you a fright the first time.
Yeah, the first time I was panicking a bit. Yeah, I was.
Right. From there, swing arm problems.
Now this isn't my problem.
Okay.
This has come from Mark the Tyre.
Okay, Mark is the man that changes all the tyres here at MCN. Mark's Mobile Tyres. If you're anywhere near us, does a brilliant job.
So when I had these tyres put on, pointed out to me that the swing arm is this kind of sleek design.
Yes.
But there's nowhere to put swing arm bobbins.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's nothing to put the cups of your paddock stand on.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's designed, if you do it, the swing arm just sort of slides through the cups.
Right.
So your only option really is to go for some kind of lift in the middle of the bike.
Yep.
Because of all the exhaust collector and that bash plate, it's not actually very easy to find anywhere to put it. So then if you go for like an ABBA Superbike stand type thing, there's nowhere to get in for it.
Oh, okay.
In the swing arm pivot, there's no. So you're just left with the option of kind of bodging a paddock stand onto the.
Yeah.
It's not really not ideal at all.
No centre stand.
No centre stand. No
Is it an option?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Wow, that's actually really surprising.
Yeah.
You would think that would be for this version of it. You'd think that would be an option.
But no.
Wow,
So,
it's an oversight then.
It's a small oversight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Triumph must be changing these tyres.
Yeah. Well, if you've changed the tyres on yours, let us know in the comments how you did it. So from there, then we'll carry on because it is blooming freezing.
Absolutely brassic.
We'll talk about the hand guards.
Yes. So, as we talked about it being crashable,
yes.
and I said we'd come back to this, I dropped this, and this handguard just immediately flopped round and left the lever completely exposed.
Right. Okay.
They are. I mean, you can just.
Oh. Okay. Fine.
They're for show only, really.
Yes.
Plastic things. If it was my bike and I was keeping it, I'd have a Cherbis.
Yeah.
Upgraded. Something with a metal framework inside it, because that's just
plastic.
Just for show, really. I mean, they keep your hands a bit warmer, I suppose.
Yeah. But you want a bit more protection.
If you were just riding along and getting, branch hitting and scrub, they'll keep you in that. But in a drop, they're no good.
No. Okay, fair enough. And then you talk about the bash plate as well.
Bash plate looks fine. It's actually made of plastic.
Oh, so yeah.
Again, chocolate teapot kind of.
Yeah, won't take a bash.
Yeah, won't take a bash. I'm pretty sure Triumph do an uprated version.
Yeah.
As from the factory.
Yeah.
If you want it. An option, that's what you call it.
That's the one.
And there will be aftermarket ones available, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, plastic bash plate, just don't bother with it.
Exactly. They may as well have just made it out of real plates.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, the foot pegs. Now, I'll be interested to hear what you've got to say about this, because I'm also sort of found these a bit questionable. So yeah.
Yeah, they do just feel a bit flimsy. You're not the first person. I lent this to our digital reviews editor, Adam.
Yes.
Who said the same thing as well. They've got quite a lot of flex in them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I've ridden quite a lot off-road standing on the pegs with no problem.
Yeah.
It's just that first initial bit of movement you get, which feels a bit strange and again not very reassuring.
Yeah.
But I'm a heavy guy and I've ridden off-road standing on the pegs with absolutely no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So potentially there's not a problem, but they don't feel very nice.
No, and presumably, there'll be aftermarket pegs and all sorts for this.
Oh, I'd have thought so. Yeah. Coming to them, it's still new. There's not a lot
exactly.
out there aftermarket.
Exactly. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I got on it to ride it round here for this, and I just thought, that feels a bit odd. But I've been on the CBR 600 all year, and that's got very rigid, solid, sporty pegs. So
yeah. I mean,
this
the other
feels
thing is
very
that
different.
John from Rally Raid, they've got their own one that they've put their upgrades on.
Yeah.
He's ridden it thousands and thousands and thousands of miles around the European Tet.
Okay.
And hasn't felt the need to do anything to
the
upgrade.
Right.
So they obviously do stand up to abuse. They just feel a bit flimsy.
Right, I see. Well, thank you very much for talking us through your good bits and your bad bits on this bike. How long have you got it for? When's it go back?
It goes back next week.
Oh, right, so we got this in just in time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's clear that you enjoy it, and it's obviously, been a bit of a workhorse for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the real question is, would you buy one with your own money?
I would,
Yeah?
I absolutely would, yeah. I think it's a sweet spot in the market for me because it's got the retro looks that I've already said I really like.
Yeah.
You can do a bit of on-road, you can do a bit of off-road. I actually would buy one of these. Would I have it as my only bike though?
Ah, yes.
And I'm not sure I would. Because I think
yeah,
I'd want something with closer to sort of 90, 100 horsepower.
yeah.
Just to scratch that itch. But yeah, it would not be money wasted, I don't think. if you
No,
bought one
no,
of these.
not at all, not at all. And I think they'll hold their money, and they'll always be desirable because they kind of tick a lot of boxes for beginners right the way through to completely advanced riders. So
Yeah, absolutely.
fantastic stuff. Well, thank you again, and thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please remember to like and subscribe, and check out the rest of the long-term fleet while you're here. And we will see you very, very soon.